Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming to you live and direct. So glad I started doing this when I did because it just makes things so much easier now. When I want to make a comment on something, I have a forum. I can do it every day. Well, last night, if you all watched the Democratic convention, I've been watching for the last few nights, and certain parts I paid attention to, the keynote speakers, etc. I didn't watch every last minute of the whole thing because it was too much time. But I did see Joe Biden give his speech last night. Now, you know Joe, I know Joe. We know Joe gonna blow. He always says something out of order. Now, after he finishes his speech last night, I know they had set the bar really low, and T-Rump helped him do that, and that he couldn't even get through a speech at all. However, I do take objection to the way he ended the speech, because the way he ended the speech, he used a racist trope at least 3 times at the end of the speech. And not one newscaster that I've seen so far, maybe Roland Martin is going to get it right, I don't know. You better check Roland and see, is Roland awake or is he still sleeping over there? Okay? Because he used a racist trope at least 3 times directed directly at black folks. When he said, we're going to come out of the darkness, we're going to come out the dark, we're going to come into the light. You know, light is the same as white and dark is the same as black. I don't give a damn. That shit was just wrong. Okay? He needed to find a new trope. Somebody needed to read that damn speech before he started talking. Now, I bet you that was actually on the script, but I don't know. Maybe he went off script there. I don't know. He sounded pretty teleprompted last night to me. But that whole darkness, light, going in and out, that shit, that don't fly. This is 2020. Get it straight. It ain't about dark and light. It's about right and wrong. It's about right and wrong. That's all it's about. It ain't about dark and light. It's about right and wrong. So if I sound like I'm a little bit ticked off, I am. Why am I ticked off? I'm ticked off, number one, because he said it. But I know the society, this is all woven right into the cloth. Most people didn't even notice. Just like they don't notice when newscasters get on there, the weathermen get on there and start talking about black ice. Yeah, that's right. I said it. I'm going into one of my favorite topics, black ice. Has anybody ever seen some damn black ice? I want one person to tell me when you've ever seen black ice. Y'all ain't never seen no black ice. What you saw was some clear ice with some black asphalt up under it. That's what you saw. You saw through the ice because the ice was clear. So, next time you slip and fall on that ice, don't claim it was ice, because it wasn't black ice. It was clear ice that got you on top of some black asphalt. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Okay? And the game is we being gaslit. When they tell us it's black ice that did it, we being gaslit. When they tell us it's the darkness that did it, darkness didn't do nothing to you. The majority of the universe is made of what? Dark matter. The majority of the universe is made up of dark matter. The only little bit, there's some little specks of light out there, but everybody wants to focus on the little bitty specks of light and ignore the darkness. And that's what's been happening here in our culture. Okay? We talk about people of color. What color? You mean to tell me white folks ain't got a color? Damned if I know. I didn't know white folks were clear people, colorless people. Since when? Y'all know they white. Stop being gaslit and stop gaslighting yourselves, telling yourself that white people ain't got no color. So when you say people of color, you need to be more specific. What color do you mean? You know what color you're talking about. You're talking about black. Why are you talking about black? Because we're the only ones that got that history of slavery that really makes our history stick out and stand out from everybody else's history that's been here. Now, of course, you do have the new slaves, the Mexicans, okay? But they late to the game. And nobody's even is even dealing with that situation. That's a whole nother situation. Ask the attorney general down there in Florida about slavery in Florida, because he's prosecuting 2,000 cases a year. So apparently slavery never really did end, but that's a different story. We're just talking about this whole darkness thing and this light thing, and Joe talking about coming out the darkness and going into the light. No, go into the light. I like where I'm at right now, sitting over here in the dark where you can't see me. I like being invisible. Okay, there ain't nothing wrong with the dark. So, all that to say, when we're listening to these things, we really need to listen carefully, because they slipping stuff in there under us, and a lot of us are what just happened. And that's what just happened. That's the news for today. Play that on the TV. I double dare you. Meanwhile, let's go into our regular thing now that I'm done ranting and raving. Proverb for today. Oh, quite appropriate. The monkey does not see his own hind parts. He sees his neighbors. Interesting. That's one out of Zimbabwe. Okay. The monkey does not see his own hind parts. He sees his neighbors. Poem. Eye for an eye. Another appropriate thing. Now, you know what? I picked these without even thinking about I was going to be talking about this darkness and this lightness thing. But when I got on, I was watching the news while I was getting ready, and it kept coming up on the news. Out of the darkness, out of the darkness. We're going to hear that for the next 3-4 months. Oh, no, hell no. Somebody's going to have to say something about that shit, because that just ain't going down like that. We got to sit there and listen to that crap for the next 3-4 months about out of the darkness into the goddamn light. I'm sorry. Did I say it again? Did I do it again? My bad. An eye for an eye. What is she looking for in my eyes? The supervisor who brings me work, trying to look all in my eyes. What is she looking for? My lids lower automatically, shielding you from her piercing, probing gaze. Do you understand? She asked. Yes, I say, looking at the work. What are you looking for in my eyes? I want to ask each new oppressor who brings me work, brings me senseless jobs, assignments, tasks, projects, and speaks in we's. We need to do this or that, when all the time I know damn well they mean me, while bending their heads sideways, trying to look into my eyes. I know what they're looking for in there. They're going to see some blackness if they look deep enough, though. I wonder as I protect my soul from their prying gaze, if they are trying to gauge my compliance, rebelliousness, my competence, disdain, or intelligence, or are they looking for the secret of my survival? How I managed to work for so little pay and still take care of my family. One day, if they look too long and hard, I may have to quietly inform them that if I should look back into their eyes as they are gazing into mine, they would be risking their own demise. For the history of my people beats boldly in my chest. My ancestors' words ring loudly in my ears, giving me the power to seize minds, bend them to my will, and back people up off of me without saying a word. I'm a revolutionary. Do you understand? Stajabu. Love that girl. An eye for an eye. Timely, if I say so myself. And meanwhile, we going back to Alabama. Hell no, we ain't going back to no goddamn Alabama. But we're going to just take a trip. We're going to pretend like we took a trip to Alabama today. Let's see what's happening down there in Bama. Oh, it sucks. Just lost my page. Let me see. Oh, yeah, they were talking about being in that cold, right? They were out there in the cold. Okay. Yeah, here we go here. So, it was one of those shacks on the edge of the Selma community that we spent the night. We stood around, turn that page. We stood around the fire talking, afraid to get into bed and face the cold and long night. All there would be to do, think, and it would be too cold to sleep or think. We started singing, Will the circle be unbroken? I don't know that tune, so that's why I can't sing it. By and by, Lord, by and by, I was standing by my window on a moonlit summer night when I saw a torch a-flaming and a mob all dressed in white. As they started toward my window, Eric, warming himself by the fire, staring quietly at us from behind the dark glasses he was forced to wear because of eye trouble. Eric was an organizer in Wilcox County. Some time ago, it had been hard in Wilcox County when a group of Negroes appeared at the courthouse and asked the registrar if they might register to vote. He ran from the office. I mean, literally ran. Once out in the street, he leaned against a lamppost and gasped incoherencies at passers-by. Niggers in there trying to register. God damn it. The registrar was hysterical. The Negroes within the courthouse might just as well have announced they were intending to fly for the difference it made to him. The rigid intelligence of the registrar is what many times is mistaken for stupidity. Eric had stopped in Selma on his way to Wilcox to investigate the murder of Daniel Colson. Colson had been killed January 31st in front of Antioch Church, a half hour before meeting on the poll tax was to start. Stokely Carmichael warmed his hands in the red glow of the gas heater. Stokely is a leader. He was born in the slums of Trinidad, fought his way through adolescence in a Bronx Italian neighborhood, and led students in revolt at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Through his struggle, Stokely has come personally to embody the movement. The fire reminded me of a hot, late summer day in that small river town. It was years past. Lines of people waiting to vote at the courthouse were surrounded by deputies. A white man leaped from the rank of deputies into the midst of the students. Fists clenched in the air, he shook a writhing green snake like a shadow from a troubled mythical past. He thrust the reptile into the faces around him and retrieved it, waved and whirled and retrieved the tongue-flicking snake. A girl cried out and fainted. The man tried to force the snake into a boy's mouth. When the youngster gritted his teeth and pursed his lips, the man laughed and tried to stuff his sickness down other throats. This is a real story. This is not, let me just say, this ain't no fake fable or no folklore, okay? This is real stuff, real talk. Some of the posse laughed too. Others hid their delight behind stolid policeman stares. When desperately a victim threw out an arm to protect himself, knocking the snake to the street, the man grew wide-eyed with shock and indignation. Oh my God. Two of the deputies came dashing forward. They led the Negro to a squad car. Did I say that? They led the Negro to a squad car because he stopped the man from flashing that snake all up in his face and trying to shove it down people's throats. So who goes to the squad car? The Negro. At the station house, Sheriff Jim Clark's deputies charged him with assault and jailed him. The drama of the Negro as a victim was thus once again publicly acted out, losing but fighting back. The important that these stories of the movement are low tragedy of people's characters laid bare by the stories they tell. Oh my God. Gloria stood solemnly by the fire, her hands folded near her lap. Her mind was far away. A question was posed on her thin, delicately etched black face. At times, during the most absurd encounters commonplace in the movement, she smiled. Her habitual, ironic smile was a womanly defense against all the world's men who would use her. They took his death well, she said. She had just been with the family of an organizer who was killed in Tuskegee. Eric left the room. For some of us, talk of those who were dead was sacrilegious. Will, the youngest, strutted around the room, picking up his clothes. The light glistened upon his green earring. He acted as though he hadn't heard. A couple of fellas couldn't hide their fright and laughed stupidly. Most of us refuse to confront the reality of death. When the subject came up once at a meeting, one fellow was publicly criticized for being frightened. He refused to work in Mississippi. The project director then drew a ring around death and examined it. Everyone in the meeting had a different level of understanding of death. When they were all brought to the same level of understanding, they no longer criticized their frightened coworker. Those who understand life can better understand death. Someone in the circle of light said, "No one wants to die for anything." Another said, "But we must demand to live in freedom." The fire talk tired us. The women were given the room. They accepted complacently. Neither of them asked to be treated with deference, but when treated as women, they acquiesced. The rest of us slept in double-decker beds in the large cluttered hallway of the shack. There was another room, but it had no fire. An agitation somewhere between my throat and chest made me cough, waking me. When my nose started running, I felt much better. I went in morning light into the bathroom and found the tap frozen. Ice hung from the faucets. One of the bathtub taps worked. I washed with numbing cold water and my fingers turned blue. The bathroom had a coal stove, and if there had been coal, it could have heated the room. I rinsed the soapy ice water from my body and briskly dried with a rough towel and washed out some underwear. After I hung up the clothes, I went back to the blue flame flickering in the gas stove in the hall. Soon, we'd be heading on to the tents to work with evicted sharecroppers camping just down the road. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. Y'all know that already. The more things change, the more they stay the same. As you can see right here, that story was written back in 1968 or earlier. And he's talking about William Mahoney. And that piece there is talking about voting. And Stokely Carmichael and Snick and those other young people going down south to train up black folks how to get other black people to vote. Okay, what to do to get past the registrars that laugh when you come up in there saying you want to register to vote. The police with their green snakes trying to force them down your throat. Okay, all these kinds of indignities and the final indignity of death for attempting, for even thinking, for even daring to think that you might be able to vote. So in spite of what I said earlier, we need to vote. We need to storm those polls at the end of the year. On November 3rd, we need to storm those polls and vote like you never voted before. Now, does that mean that is Joe Biden some kind of magic elixir? Hell no. He ain't no damn magic elixir. He can't even erase racism out of his own mind or his mouth. Now, the boy does need his mouth washed out with soap after that stuff he did last night, but that don't mean we shouldn't vote him in and the other guy out. Because, yeah, like Chochezi said last night, we got this choice between evil and eviler. And right now, we're looking at evil and eviler. But with Joe, we might be able to work with him. T-Rump, he ain't even workable. So let's not even fool ourselves into thinking that the boy might be workable. So we're going to just have to go out there and do what we can to try to make a better day for who? For our chillins. Because they're coming up behind us. They're out there in the world right now dealing with this bullshit. So we can't even start thinking that, we're going to do this or do that or do something else. No, we're going to do one thing. Now, the Board of Election just called to say that they got our application, my mother and I, they got our application for a ballot. Okay, that's what they just called to tell us. But our birth dates weren't on there. Hers wasn't on hers and mine wasn't on mine. But we know it was. But they sent us one of these in the mail and it had it printed, but in the wrong spot. And so the scanner's not picking it up. So when you get one of those ballots, you might want to put your birth date on there twice. But if you put it on there once, if it's already printed on there and you let it go by, they're going to call you. And then that's the way you can check up to make sure that they got your application for the ballot. Without having to call them and ask no dumb questions, they'll call you. So maybe you just leave it like it is. Sometimes it's better, well enough is best left alone. Now, I've gone over my time. I got kind of extensive there because I really did need to just talk about that blackness, because dark, black, Negro, Nager, Schwarzen, they're all the same thing. They're all talking about black folks. And people of color, let me tell you something. My grandfather, I grew up listening to my grandfather call us colored folks all the time. So that ain't nothing new. He didn't mean Chinamen. He didn't mean Americans. When he said colored people, he wasn't talking about anybody. It was one color he was talking about. Now, they didn't try to get it all twisted, but that's gaslighting. Gaslighting. That's where you tell somebody to not to believe their lying eyes. They see something happening right in front of them, and you just keep saying that they're not seeing what they thought they saw until they believe that they didn't see what they thought they saw, but we done seen what we thought we saw, and we didn't need not to see it anymore. So I'm gonna write a comment about to that DNC about Joe and his speech. I'm gonna send an email off to Rachel Maddow on MSNBC and Joy Reid on MSNBC, and I'm gonna send one to Roland Martin on MSNBC on whatever channel he's on the internet. I'm gonna send one to every last one of them today, and we're gonna see who responds and who don't, who's faking and who's shaking. Because right now it's time for us to do some shaking, because this place to start doing some quaking. We need to wake some people up. So I need you to do the same thing I just said I'm going to do, which is give those people a piece of your mind. Don't give them too big a piece, because you need the rest of it for yourself. But give them a little piece of your mind. Okay? Let them know that we are woke out here. We're not just sitting idly by the side of the road and can't see or hear what's going down in front of us. And we certainly aren't going to gaslight ourselves. That's not going to happen. Now, last but not least, we are looking for some assistance here in order to continue what we've been doing. We're looking for volunteers. We're looking for cash receipts. We're looking for any kind of contribution you can make, in-kind contributions of services and or goods, etc. Because we're gearing up for a banner year this year coming up. We're going to institute some new programs, but whether not new, but we're going to institute them online. We do the book giveaways and all kinds of things like that. And we want you to be a part of it. So if you like what we're doing here, go ahead, make a donation right down there at the bottom, or give us a like, and then give us a share on Facebook. Okay, get the word out. Help us do some promotion. Or you can also go ahead and give us a thumbs up on Facebook, and then go ahead and subscribe. We need you to do not some of those things. We need you to do all of those things. Okay, because we're gonna need some help. You are part of this too. You're not. This ain't no. We're not doing a show. We're doing a audience participation thing. This is an audience participation thing. So all this time y'all been thinking you're the audience. No, we need you to be in here with us. And when it's all said and done, last but not least, don't forget to read stories to your youngins. We're bringing this information to you, not to say how smart we are, how much we know. That ain't what it's about. It's about inspiring others to do what we've already done. We already homeschooled all our children. We've already worked in the public schools. We already been tutoring youngins after school. Now we're trying to inspire other people to do what we've been doing. So get on the case, join the race. You know you got some children, some grandchildren, some great-grands. You got somebody you need to be working with. Don't forget to start at home. Okay? Charity starts at home, and so should you. Meanwhile, peace out. We're out of here.